Hey folks, this is R Vermil 47, Robert from Dallas, Texas. I'm making this video on February the 23rd, 2012. The time is 11:14 a.m. Central Standard Time. What we're looking at here is the Gakona induction magnetometer, the HARP facility, and we had some very good PC1 pulsations towards the end of the UT day on the 22nd. It's been relatively quiet since then. We've had a couple of little interference blips here, and we can talk more about that shortly. This is probably left over from a minor geomagnetic disturbance that we had. But other than that, HARP looks relatively just quiet. It's always impressive to see some of the brightness of the PC1 pulsations, which are pretty strong there. Now here are the solar wind parameters, and I went ahead and did a 3-day look here. This is when we had the small geomagnetic interference, probably about midday on UT day 22nd of February. And as you can see, the solar winds did increase from a level of about 400 kilometers per second to almost 600, probably around 600 kilometers per second, which again shows that we had the PC1 pulsations, we had a little bit of geomagnetic disturbance, and other than that, though, not too much. Density continues to stay very light. There's just not much particle density in the solar winds right now. Temperature staying along fine. Again, the BZ component staying around neutral, and even the strength is pretty low on it. So not much going on here with solar winds right now. So we'll just have to kind of keep an eye on that and see what happens. Not much, like I said, not much to tell you about right there. Now here's a look at the solar disk, and it's showing that there's quite a bit of filament action going on here on the eastern limb of the sun. Now we did have a filament collapse earlier this UT day, and it did cause the coronal mass ejection. Now it was a backside kind of side event over here, and it kind of correlates with some of the what we saw on the Gakona whatchamacallit thingy, the Gakona hello, the induction magnetometer from the Gakona, Alaska HARP facility. Thank you. And about the time we had the collapse on it, we saw the little bitty areas that seemed to be agitated just a bit. But again, some pretty decent filaments standing up there, and again, apparently one collapsed earlier in this UT day, and it did cause a coronal mass ejection. Now, if we look at the, this is from the stereo A, the ahead, which is the one that's going to be on the western side, or the eastern side of the disk, which faces the western side of the Earth. I know that gets confusing, but to think about it, if you look up in the sky, our west is the sun's east, and our east is the sun's west. Anyhow, now that I really got confused, and now you know why I'm being incognito today with my picture there. I felt kind of, you know, like that. Anyway, here's the CME that blasted out from that collapsing filament. Again, this being a picture from the stereo ahead. Most of this looks like it, if anything, will go west of the Earth. Or this was blown out west, so it will be a glancing blow maybe to the eastern side. But that's something that you watch, because that means that there's some active places coming around the sun that might give us some more activity in the coming days or so. So again, at least we've had a CME. The sun has been awfully boring in the last 24, 48 hours. so it's awfully quiet. Now here's a quick look at ACE parameters, solar wind parameters, electrons and protons. Now this is a different graph than I normally show you, but this is one that's like it's a bit more defined. It's got a higher resolution, and we do see some precursors that happened right about the time we had the filament collapse and the coronal mass ejection off of the western limb, or the eastern limb of the sun. A lot of times when we see these are considered to be, and it triggers a lot of computer algorithms saying that it's a precursor to a minor geomagnetic event. So we'll just see. It says after these watch for about 36 hours and something could materialize. We'll see. Again, I think that's again going to be directed just like a side swap on the Earth, and again, it wasn't a huge one, but it's interesting to pick it up in the protons here. As you can see, electrons are just humming along at normal rates. Okay, I haven't talked about this too much. This is the Cycle 24 sunspot number prediction, and this one was released this month, February, and it's been revised. Now, here's back in 1995, and of course here we are now in 2012. And remember the good old solar maximum that happened around Y2K. There was some, that's when I really started studying the sun hard, because we were having some major flares. In fact, we've had one of the largest flares ever during that time period in recent history. As we went into the solar minimum, like around 2005, and we finally bottomed out just about 2 years ago, we started coming up. But as you can see, it's not coming up much at all. This it's showing is a weenie maximum coming up, for lack of better words. In fact, if this forecast pans out, it will be the smallest sunspot cycle in about 100 years. So you take that into consideration with people that can correlate sunspot count and solar activity to warming and cooling of the Earth. This would show you that we could be going into a cooling phase, which I already think we are going into a cooling phase. Not that you would think it here in Texas today, because it's going to be 81 degrees at my house today here in Dallas, Texas. Here it is, out in the middle of winter, and it's going to be 81 degrees. But, you know, tomorrow it's going to be 61, so there you go, I'm in front of the front. But anyway, back to this. It's just interesting to see that what was supposed to be remember the idiots, Michael Mann and I can't think of the other guys' names. It was just like we were going to have the great El Nino, and then we were going to have the maximum, the crazy maximum, solar maximum, and it was going to destroy us in 2012 and all that. Well, you can see now that looks kind of weenie as a forecast. Now, again, NASA produces these forecasts. What do? You just have to go about the data, if you can trust the data. And for the most part, I kind of trust the data and just look at it. But again, just thought I'd bring that up because that's interesting, because we're going into a cold phase. I would say by about 2014, people are going to be talking about the beginnings or the little ice age that has started. Until then, weather is crazy. Winter gets locked up on one side of the globe and it gets hot on the other side of the globe. We still got some cold weather coming in for the northern tier of the United States, and maybe some decent snows for the first time this winter up in the Northeast. As far as us down here in the South, the Southeast is going to be in for some possible severe weather over the coming days because of the coming cold front and the cold air moving down from Canada. But here in Texas, it's just going to be kind of up and down. Just it's real warm, then it cools off and stays cool for a couple of days. Cool as in it gets down to 60, or the highs are in the 60s during the day, and lows are in the 40s at night. I've yet at my house here, and I live almost in downtown Dallas. I've yet to see an actual freeze at my house this year, which pisses me off because I don't want the mosquitoes to live. I don't want any of the bugs to live. I need a good freeze. Winter's not over, so I still can get one, so we'll hope. And last but not least, just thought I'd give you a quick look at the um, convective outlook for day one, which would be today, 23rd. It'd be from 7 a.m. this morning until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. There is a slight risk of severe weather, mainly here in the Kentucky, Nashville, or not Nashville, but well, yeah, Nashville part of it, but, Tennessee, probably southern Ohio. My brain's not working again this morning. I'm sorry. So again, the potential for an outbreak of severe weather, probably mainly large hail. There could be some isolated tornadoes in this just because of the wind, some of the wind maxes that are coming down. Again, the cold air mass is seeping in down here, and when it runs into what's kind of warm, it causes this to happen. Anyway, that's my long and drawn out and confusing ass, probably rambling on forecast and information about what's going on, space weather, and a quick look at terrestrial weather here. And as I said, space weather, ion enhancement says possible geomagnetic storm within the next 36 hours. So you aurora watchers, keep an eye on that. You may be able to see some, and that'd be probably far northern latitudes because it doesn't look a strong wind at the moment. More activity coming around the sun could give us some more interesting activity over the next week. Weather-wise, it's almost anybody's call right now. It's just difficult to forecast this winter. This has been one of the most difficult winters to forecast, I believe, in a long time. And it's because it all got locked up over in Europe. And now it's, even though we're beginning to change season, we'll be getting to change seasons next month. Of course, we'll bring in fall. And when that happens, the sun angle changes, and then we start seeing the weather begin to warm. So we've only got a couple of more times to get some shots of cold air into the lower 48. And if we don't get them, it's going to be warm. And I'm thinking that unless I get a hurricane this year to come into Texas, I'll be right back down into a drought situation. Anyway, again, continued to ramble, and I keep it in the table. Sorry about that. This is Robert Vermillion from Dallas, Texas. That's R for Mill 47. And y'all have a good one. And I probably won't have this scraggly stuff coming down. I just do something different. Plus, it doesn't show you how bad I'll look since I, hadn't been up that long. Anyway, y'all have a good one.